The Sinclair Racing Club was buzzing with life that morning. Mechanics rushed from one garage to another, polishing cars, adjusting engines, and preparing for the upcoming championship trials. The atmosphere vibrated with anticipation, but Jaden felt unusually calm as he worked beneath the hood of a sleek black car. For him, the garage had become a sanctuary, a place where engines spoke louder than insults, and grease on his hands felt more valuable than gold. But peace never lasts long when fate has other plans. A sudden commotion broke the rhythm of the day. Heads turned as a crimson-red racing car roared through the club's wide-open gates, its engine thundering like a beast announcing its arrival. The vehicle was spotless, shimmering under the sun, as though it belonged in a magazine spread. Behind the wheel sat Alexander Knight, the son of another wealthy business tycoon and Amelia's longtime rival in the racing scene. He was handsome in a sharp, cruel way, tall, with slicked-back hair and an ego as polished as his car. Alexander was known not just for his speed on the track, but for his arrogance off it. He loved attention, loved the whispers, loved the way people stepped aside when he entered a room. He parked the car with a dramatic screech, stepped out slowly, and flashed a smirk that oozed superiority. The club fell silent for a moment before the chatter started. That's Alexander's new ride. He imported it straight from Europe, worth more than most of us will earn in a lifetime. Amelia, who had been reviewing schedules with her assistant, stiffened when she saw him. She knew Alexander too well. His presence never meant peace, it meant trouble. Alexander spotted her immediately. His smirk widened as he walked toward her, ignoring everyone else. "Amelia Sinclair," he drawled, his voice dripping with mock charm. "Still running your little club, I see. I thought by now you'd have realized this isn't a playground for amateurs." Amelia crossed her arms, unbothered. "What do you want, Alexander?" He glanced around theatrically before shrugging. "Maybe I just came to remind you that the championship this year won't be the same. I'm competing, and I always win." Amelia's jaw tightened, but before she could respond, Jaden stepped out from under the hood, wiping his hands with a rag. He hadn't meant to interrupt, but his eyes landed on Alexander's car, and instinctively, his head tilted slightly. He heard it, a sound most people wouldn't catch, a faint irregularity hidden beneath the powerful roar. Alexander's eyes flicked to Jaden, narrowing slightly. "And who's this? The janitor?" Amelia's chin lifted proudly. "This is Jaden. He works here." Jaden didn't flinch at the insult. Instead, he stepped closer to Alexander's car, listening carefully as the engine cooled. His fingers brushed the hood, and he muttered under his breath, "Timing's off. You'll burn out on the third lap if you push it too hard." The garage went quiet. Every mechanic, every racer turned to look at him. Alexander blinked, then let out a mocking laugh. "Excuse me? Did the delivery boy just diagnose my car with his magical ears?" Jaden met his gaze steadily. "I don't need magic. I can hear it. Your ignition's firing unevenly. You'll lose speed, maybe even blow the engine if you don't fix it." The silence deepened. Alexander's smirk faltered just for a second, but he quickly masked it with a scoff. Bold words from someone who probably rides a bicycle to work. "Do you even know what you're talking about?" Amelia stepped in, her voice sharp. "He knows exactly what he's talking about, Alexander. Jaden's not just a mechanic. He's the best we've ever had." Jaden's chest tightened. He didn't want the spotlight, but Amelia's words left no room to retreat. He stood tall, meeting Alexander's glare without flinching. Determined to humiliate Jaden, Alexander tossed his keys onto the workbench. The metallic clang echoed across the garage. "Fine," he sneered. "If you think you know so much, fix it. Right here, right now. Let's see if the delivery boy can really back up his mouth." The crowd shifted eagerly, sensing drama. Mechanics exchanged looks. Racers leaned against cars, smirking, waiting for Jaden to embarrass himself. Jaden didn't move for a moment. His instinct told him not to engage. He wasn't here to prove himself to arrogant rich boys. But then he caught Amelia's gaze. She wasn't pressuring him, but there was belief in her eyes. A belief he hadn't seen in anyone else for years. So he picked up a wrench. With steady hands, Jaden slid under the car. He worked in silence, his mind sharpening into focus. Every twist, every adjustment, every touch of metal was precise. The garage filled with whispers as onlookers realized he wasn't fumbling. He was moving with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Within minutes, he emerged, wiping his hands again. "It's done. Try it now." Alexander scoffed, but climbed into the driver's seat anyway. He turned the ignition, and the car roared to life. Smooth, powerful, flawless. The faint irregularity was gone. The crowd gasped. Even the mechanics, who had struggled with similar issues for months, exchanged astonished glances. Alexander's smirk vanished completely. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. Jayden, calm as ever, simply said, "Your car's fine now, but remember what I said. Don't push it recklessly. Even the strongest machines have limits." The whispers turned into admiration. "Did you see that? He fixed it in minutes. Who is this guy?" Amelia couldn't help the proud smile tugging at her lips. Jayden had just proven what she already knew. He wasn't ordinary. He wasn't just a mechanic. He was something greater, something destined. But Alexander's pride was wounded, and prideful men never forgive humiliation. He stepped out of the car, his jaw tight, his voice low with venom. "You got lucky," he spat, "but don't think this means anything. When the championship comes, I'll crush anyone who gets in my way, including your little project." His eyes darted between Amelia and Jayden, filled with unspoken threats. Then, with a roar of his engine, Alexander sped out of the club, leaving behind the stench of gasoline and resentment. The garage buzzed with chatter long after he left, but Jayden stayed quiet, retreating into the shadows. He didn't want applause or attention. He didn't want to be remembered as the boy who humiliated Alexander Knight. All he wanted was peace. But deep down, he knew peace wouldn't last. Alexander had seen him now, and men like Alexander never let go of grudges. That night, Amelia found Jayden sitting outside the club, staring at the stars. "You didn't just fix his car," she said softly, sitting beside him. "You proved yourself today, to everyone, even if you don't realize it yet." Jayden shook his head. "All I proved is that I can still hear engines. That doesn't make me a racer again." Amelia looked at him, her voice firm but gentle. "Jayden, you can keep running from who you were, or you can accept it. But one thing is clear, you can't hide anymore, not from them, and not from yourself." Jayden closed his eyes, the roar of engines echoing in his memory. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to step back into the light, but shadows have long fingers, and his past was still pulling him down. And somewhere in the distance, Alexander Knight was already plotting his revenge. The days following Alexander's visit were anything but calm. The Sinclair Racing Club buzzed with whispers. Everywhere Jayden went, he felt the weight of eyes on him. Some looked with respect, others with envy, and many with disbelief. He fixed Alexander's car in minutes. "Did you hear? He used to be a racer." Why is Amelia protecting him? Rumors spread like wildfire, and though Jayden tried to ignore them, he could feel the shift. He was no longer invisible. The delivery boy had become the center of attention, and not everyone welcomed it. Amelia noticed too. She had always lived under the spotlight, but Jayden wasn't used to it. She often found him retreating into corners, keeping his head down, trying to avoid conversations. One evening, after everyone left, Amelia approached him as he worked alone in the garage. The only sounds were the faint humming of an engine and the rhythmic clink of his tools. "Jayden," she said softly, leaning against the car beside him, "you don't have to keep hiding. You deserve to be seen." He glanced at her, his eyes weary. Being seen isn't always a blessing. The more people see you, the more they expect from you. And when you can't deliver, they tear you apart. Her heart tightened. She wanted to tell him he was wrong, that the world would embrace him if he just let it. But she knew better. She had lived in a world of masks and betrayal long enough to understand his pain. "Then let them expect," she whispered, "because I know you won't let them down." For a moment, their eyes locked. And in that silence, something unspoken passed between them. Something fragile, tender, and dangerous. Amelia quickly looked away, her cheeks warming. But fate was already tightening its grip. Alexander Knight had not forgotten the humiliation Jayden caused him. For someone like Alexander, reputation was everything, and a delivery boy showing him up was a wound he couldn't allow to heal. So he began his game. At first, it was subtle, whispers planted among the racers, doubts spread like poison. Jayden isn't really a mechanic, he's just a fluke. Amelia brought him here for other reasons. The gossip was cruel, suggesting Amelia's interest in Jayden wasn't professional. Some whispered she had feelings for him. Others claimed he was using her for money, fame, or status. Amelia ignored the noise, but Jaden couldn't. Every time he walked into the garage, he heard the murmurs. Every time he saw Amelia, guilt gnawed at him, as if his presence was tarnishing her name. One night, sitting in his small apartment, Jaden stared at his mother's old photograph on the bedside table. Her warm smile seemed to ask him a question he couldn't answer. Are you running again, Jaden? Or are you going to fight this time? The breaking point came 2 weeks later, when Alexander stormed into the club with another challenge. I hear you're Amelia's little miracle worker, he sneered at Jaden in front of everyone. But fixing engines and winning races are two different things. So here's a deal. If you're as good as she says, why don't you prove it? Step into the driver's seat. Race me. Gasps filled the garage. Jaden froze, his stomach tightening. He hadn't raced in years, and the thought of being back on the track both thrilled and terrified him. Amelia stepped forward, her voice sharp. He doesn't have to prove anything to you, Alexander. But Alexander smirked. Of course he doesn't, because he's scared. Because he knows the truth, he doesn't belong here. The words cut deep, not just because of Alexander's venom, but because they echoed Jaden's own fears. Amelia's hand touched his arm gently. Don't listen to him. Jaden's chest burned. He wanted to believe her, but doubt was louder. That night, Jaden stayed long after everyone left, sitting inside one of the racing cars. His hands gripped the wheel tightly, his reflection in the windshield showing a man torn between two worlds. Amelia found him there, his eyes shadowed. Jaden, she said softly, don't let him get to you. He's just trying to break you. Jaden's voice was raw. What if he's right? What if I don't belong here? I'm not a racer anymore, Amelia. I'm just a delivery boy pretending to be something I'm not. Her heart ached at the pain in his tone. She stepped closer, her voice trembling with emotion. You're wrong. I've seen you with these cars. I've seen the fire in your eyes when you hear those engines. You belong here more than anyone else. Don't let your past steal your future. He looked at her, and for a moment, the walls he built around himself cracked. Her words touched the deepest part of him, the part that still longed for the track. And yet, the fear remained. Meanwhile, Alexander's schemes grew darker. He wasn't satisfied with spreading rumors. He wanted to crush Jaden completely. One evening, he cornered Amelia outside the club, his voice dripping with poison. You're playing a dangerous game, Amelia. Bringing him here, defending him. People are starting to talk. They think you've fallen for him. Imagine what your father will say when he hears that his daughter is protecting a delivery boy, like some charity case. Amelia's hands curled into fists. Stay out of my life, Alexander. But his smirk widened. I don't have to step in. You'll ruin it yourself. You always do. The tension built like a storm waiting to break. Jaden grew quieter. Amelia grew more restless, and the club buzzed with gossip. The bond between them, once steady and unshakable, now felt fragile under the weight of rumors and pressure. And then, one night, it snapped. Jaden overheard two mechanics whispering as he walked past. Amelia's only keeping him around because she feels sorry for him. Or because she likes him. Either way, it's not about his skills. The words pierced him like knives. All the pride he had felt, all the belief Amelia had given him, it suddenly felt like a lie. When Amelia found him later, sitting alone by the track, he couldn't look at her. Jaden, she asked gently, what's wrong? His voice cracked as he spoke. Why are you doing this for me, Amelia? Really? Is it because you believe in me? Or because you pity me? Or maybe because you need a project to make yourself feel better? Her heart shattered at his words. Jaden, no, But he stood, his eyes burning with pain. I can't be your charity case. I can't be the boy you saved just because you're rich and kind enough to care. I've had enough of people looking at me like I'm less. Amelia's lips trembled, tears welling in her eyes. That's not what this is. That's not what you are to me. But Jaden turned away, the storm inside him too strong. I don't know what I am anymore, and until I figure it out, maybe I shouldn't be here. And just like that, he walked away, leaving Amelia standing alone under the flickering lights of the empty track, her heart breaking in silence. That night, Jaden returned to his small apartment, collapsing onto his bed. His chest ached, his mind raced, and his mother's words haunted him again. You were born for this. Don't let anyone dim your light. But right now, his light felt extinguished, and in the darkness, both he and Amelia began to realize that sometimes love isn't destroyed by enemies. It's broken by the doubts we carry inside ourselves. The days after Jaden walked away from Amelia were heavy with silence. At the club, his absence was felt like a missing heartbeat. The racers worked, engines roared, but something was off. Amelia carried herself with her usual grace, but those who looked closely could see the shadows under her eyes, the weight on her shoulders. Jaden had returned to his delivery job, riding his old motorbike through the city streets. Every night he passed by the racing track, the floodlights glowing in the distance, and every night he fought the urge to stop. The sound of engines haunted him, calling him back to the world he had tried to leave behind. But his pride, his pain, and his fear kept him away. Meanwhile, Alexander's influence grew. With Jaden gone, he claimed victory, not on the track, but in people's hearts. He paraded around Amelia's club, mocking her decision to ever trust a nobody. "You see," he said one afternoon, leaning against his expensive car as the mechanics gathered, "fairy tales don't last. Delivery boys don't become racers. They go back to where they belong." Amelia bit her lip until it bled, refusing to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. But inside, her heart screamed. She missed Jaden, not just his talent, but his presence, his quiet strength, his honesty. The garage felt colder without him, and every corner reminded her of what she had lost. The storm broke when news arrived of the Grand City Championship, the most prestigious race of the year. Racers from across the country were coming to compete. Alexander announced he would be entering, and the whole club buzzed with anticipation. It should have been a moment of pride for Amelia's club, but instead, it felt like a knife twisting deeper. She knew Alexander's victory would cement his power, and worse, she knew that if Jaden had been there, he would have had the skill to win. One night, unable to bear it any longer, Amelia found herself outside Jaden's apartment. She knocked once, twice, and finally, the door opened. Jaden stood there, surprised, his eyes tired. "Amelia." His voice was low, guarded. She stepped inside without waiting for permission. "I don't care what you think, Jaden. You don't get to disappear like this. You don't get to let Alexander win. Not like this." He frowned. "This isn't about Alexander. This is about me. I'm not the person you think I am." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then who are you?" "Because I see a man who saved my life. I see a racer who can hear an engine like it's music. I see someone who has been running from his past for too long. Jaden, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you." His chest tightened, her words breaking through his armor. For the first time in weeks, he let himself look at her fully, her trembling lips, her fiery eyes, her unshaken belief in him. But the weight of his fear still pressed on him. "And what if I fail you? What if I fail myself again?" She reached for his hand, her touch soft but firm. "Then at least you'll know you tried. But if you walk away now, Jaden, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." The championship arrived like a storm. The stadium lights lit up the night, engines roared like thunder, and the crowd filled the air with restless energy. Amelia stood by the track, her heart pounding as she scanned the line of racers. And then, at the last moment, a roar cut through the noise. Familiar, powerful, unforgettable. Jaden rolled in with a car from Amelia's garage, his presence commanding the track. The crowd gasped. Whispers spread instantly. "That's him, the delivery boy." "He's racing? Didn't he retire years ago?" Alexander's smirk faltered as he watched Jaden pull up beside him. "Well, well," he sneered, forcing a grin. "The stray dog found his way back. Let's see if you can keep up." Jaden didn't reply. His focus was steel, his hands steady on the wheel. For the first time in years, he felt alive. The doubt still lingered, but Amelia's voice echoed in his heart. "You belong here more than anyone else." The race began. Engines screamed as the cars tore down the track. The first lap was chaos, cars jostling for position, tires screeching, the crowd roaring. Alexander surged ahead, his confidence blazing, but Jaden's instincts sharpened with every turn. He could hear the cars, feel their rhythms, sense their flaws. Every growl of an engine told him where to push, where to hold back. He moved like he was born for this, gliding through gaps, overtaking with precision. Amelia's breath caught as she watched. This wasn't just racing, this was Jaden's soul on fire. By the final lap, it was down to two, Alexander and Jaden. The crowd was on its feet, screaming. Alexander pushed his car to the limit, but Jaden stayed right on his tail, waiting, listening. And then he heard it, the faintest misfire in Alexander's engine, a flaw no one else could have noticed. Jaden seized the moment, swerving at the perfect second, overtaking Alexander in a breathtaking maneuver that left the crowd exploding in cheers. Jaden crossed the finish line first. Victory. But heartbreak doesn't wait for celebrations. As the crowd roared, Amelia ran to him, her face lit with tears and pride. Jaden stepped out of the car, and for a moment their eyes met, an unspoken world between them. "You did it," she whispered, her voice breaking. He smiled faintly, but it wasn't joy in his eyes. It was something heavier, something final. "Amelia," he said softly, "this was for you, to prove that I could still be the man you believed I was." Her chest tightened. "Jaden, don't talk like that. This isn't the end. It's the beginning." But his expression was pained. "I can't stay, Amelia. This world, it nearly broke me once. I can't let it do that again. I needed this race to remind me of who I am. But now, I have to let go." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "No, Jaden. Don't walk away again. Not now. Not after everything." He reached up, brushing a tear from her face with trembling fingers. "You gave me back my fire. You gave me back myself. But some fires burn too bright to last. And if I stay, Amelia, I'm afraid I'll hurt you. And that's the one thing I could never forgive myself for." Her sob broke through the cheers of the crowd. She wanted to fight, to beg, but she saw it in his eyes. The decision was made. Jaden pulled her into one last embrace, holding her as if he'd never let go. And then, with the crowd still chanting his name, he walked away, leaving the stage of glory, leaving Amelia, leaving behind the world that both saved him and broke him. In the weeks that followed, Amelia often stood by the track at night, listening to the silence where engines once roared. She carried his memory like a wound and a gift, heartbroken yet proud. And though Jaden vanished into the shadows of the city, his story lived on. They whispered of the delivery boy who had once been a champion, who returned for one final race, and who broke the heart of the only girl who truly believed in him. For Amelia, the heartbreak never faded, but whenever the engines roared, she felt him there, in the sound, in the fire, in the dream he left behind. Because some love stories don't end with forever. Some end with silence, sacrifice, and the memory of a man who taught her that the most powerful victories often come with the deepest heartbreak.